All right, let's take a look at Coding Challenge 11. For this one, we're going to do some web scraping. But before we get too far, just because it's on the top of my head, for those who are using Mac who want to go back to figure out our GitHub Coding Challenge, the Homebrew project is probably going to be very helpful for you. So there are ways to do this without this, but Homebrew is basically going to give you a set of tools that makes it easier to do the sort of work that we often have to do, including things like getting Git installed on a computer and other tools that are helpful for programming. So brew.sh, if you're a Mac user, that could be helpful for you. That'll make it easier to install Git, which will then make it easier to interact with stuff. So there's some more stuff here, github.com/homebrew/install will give you some details on that. And of course, ask YouTube. So if you search Git RStudio Mac and, let's add Homebrew, see if we get something helpful there. So here we've got, Code with Arjun, I think I remember that name.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video.
Now it's just another helpful Indian YouTuber teaching how to do coding stuff. In any case, cool. So let's jump into Coding Challenge 11. Now today in class I did a little demonstration playing around with IMDb. You can see my code up on my GitHub repository under Coding Challenge 11. Let me go ahead and open up RStudio and walk you through that. I'm going to try and be relatively quick. So pause as necessary and ask questions as necessary. So in class, what did we do? We were looking at the IMDb page for Dune 2 just as a way to play around with web scraping without giving away too many things like the things that I've got in main.r. So in main.r, I basically solved most of the problems that you might face in this, but it'll be a little easier to demonstrate with something else to start with. So first off, we clear out everything off my workspace, track of the environment. We're going to load in the tidyverse. We're going to load in a package called Polite that I didn't get around to using in class, but we'll talk about that in a second. And rvest is our key library for doing web scraping. Now, here I've got a URL for the page for Dune 2 that I pulled off the home page to IMDb this morning. Now, in here I've got a bunch of code that was just kind of me working stuff out. And I've just commented it out, and I'm going to go ahead and delete it entirely because I don't really need it. But I will explain that stuff in just a second. All right, so far I've loaded my libraries and I've got a URL. All right, now this URL we can see has a bunch of crap at the end of it that I'm not really interested in. So let's make a function to strip that. So strip URL. If I pass in the URL to Dune 2, I get back /title/some code. In this case, it is losing the base part of the URL, but we'll see in a second that a lot of the links are these relative links. So if you're at IMDb and you say look for /title/yada yada yada, it's going to look for imdb.com/title/yada yada yada. Sometimes we need to attach that thing back on, but this function, it's basically just saying let's get rid of all the stuff at the end of the URL and also this thing at the beginning that we know is always going to be the same. Cool. So we've got a URL, we've got a way to strip it down to really what's the most essential part for this. Now we need a way to actually read that. So let's go ahead and make a function called getPage. Now this is going to be a little confusing, so if you just have to copy this, that's fine. If you don't totally understand it, it's a little bit weird. The syntax here is going to be kind of funny. But what we're going to do, let's call it, we're going to make a function called getPage. And what that function is going to do is it's going to take some link and it's going to get the details. So for example, if we go read underscore HTML for the URL we've already got, it's downloading the page from IMDb, it's getting the HTML code, all that stuff is in there. What we want to do is do that politely. We want to do that in a way where we're not raising any red flags. So if the IMDb server sees some guy is downloading the Dune 2 page, they think nothing of it. If they see some guy is downloading 1,000 pages, they think maybe I'm up to no good and they should cut me off. So the polite library is going to make it so that we don't raise those red flags. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the function politely. Now where this gets weird is politely takes a function as an input and it returns a function as an output. And we're going to use that return function in getPage. So the function that we want to make polite is HTML read. This is from the rvest package. And that is going to return a function. So let me show you that. If I ask what is politely, it's going to tell me it's a function. If I ask what is politely on HTML read, oops. Let's do this without all these extra things. Could not find the function. Am I misremembering this? Ah, there we go. Okay. Easy mistake. Read underscore HTML. Cool. Back to there. What is politely on read underscore HTML? It's also a function. All right. That was a long way for me to remember that I had two words flipped backwards. So politely is a function. Read HTML is also a function. And politely called on read HTML is a function. So we got functions all the way down, but what we can do with politely read HTML, one thing we could do is we could call it something. We could call it fun. Fun is a function, and then we could say what is fun of our URL. And what it's going to do is it's going to politely use read HTML and download this HTML code. It's going a little bit slower just because it's not bombarding IMDb. So it goes and says, hey, I just want this page, no rush, totally fine. I'm not trying to damage your server. Please give us some HTML code back. And it does. Now, so notice our syntax there. This looks nice and easy when we name it like this, but I'm going to skip that step. I'm going to say get page, where we just throw the link right in there. So now if I say get page on our base URL, it's going to do the same basic thing. It just looks a little bit funny because we've got two sets of parentheses right next to each other, but it's going to work. All right. So we've got a URL, we've stripped the URL, we've got a way to get a page from a link. Now this is an absolute link, right? We need the imdb.com part of this. We're going to collect links. So let's call this get links, where we're going to take some relative link, such as title/tt and then some code. And with that relative link, let's go and make this big so you can see the whole thing. We're going to create a full link where we just paste on the base part of the URL. Now with that, let's replace this with get page. I'm gonna, okay. I'm gonna kind of replace stuff as I go. So I want to get links. I've got some link to give. So let's say our page is going to be get page on this full link that we've created. Now our links will be from that page, we will pipe that into HTML elements A. And what that's going to do is it's going to get all of the elements in the page that are A elements. So let's go ahead and look at one of my favorites, Cape Fear. So here's the IMDb page for Cape Fear. We got title /TT, some numbers, and some other stuff that we can strip out. If we look into the source code for this, we're looking at what is the actual text that the server sent to my browser, and then Firefox interpreted it to mean all this stuff. The actual text behind that is all of this. So if we look at something like bracket A, we're going to look through some JavaScript code, but here we can see A, role is menu item, class is blah, 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 href is /feature /genre /whatever. I know you guys can't read this. It's not super interesting in tiny text, but what we're doing here is we are extracting those HTML tags. So it's going to be a block of text in those triangle brackets. And then from there, I want the HTML attribute of those A tags, and I want the href attribute. Now we're kind of learning a little HTML here that is an old thing, but we'll be fine. So what this does is we take a relative link, we make it a full link, we download that page, and then we extract the links from that page. And then what we're going to do from there is I'm going to limit ourselves to the links, the relative links that have title /TT /something else. Let's see, can we do this? Let's get an example here. So if I say, here's my page. This is the Dune 2 page again. So I got this page like line 18. Now I can say, let's run line 19. And now we got this thing called links. And so here's all these links from the Dune 2 page. And a lot of these I don't really care about. I don't want to look at the privacy. I don't look at the Amazon advertising ad specs page. I don't care about Box Office Mojo. I can't afford IMDb Pro, so I'm not going to care about that stuff. So what I'm going to do now with this next line is I'm going to take the links, but only the ones where we detect the string /title /TT. And this little caret here, this means the things where it starts with /title. So here we've got stuff that isn't title. This line is going to be cut out of that. So now if we look at links, we're not going to see all these HTTPs. We'll see things like title /whatever. So when we look at that, it's all title /whatever. And then a bunch of stuff held on after that. So I'm going to strip the URL with an apply function. Now when I look at links, I'm getting the same things, but now I'm not getting all the stuff at the end of the URL. I am getting names on this vector though, which is slightly annoying. So this line just strips the names off of that. Now when I look at links, I've got just the links and they're just on their own. Now, one thing that I want from the Wikipedia version of this, the version of this problem that you're going to do, is I want to know how many links there are on a page. So in this case, how many links have we got? We've got 113 links. But notice, a lot of these links are to the same page. So that's not really what I want. I need a line in here to ask our links to be, oh, there it is. I need to run this line. Let's set our links to the unique links. Now I've only got 14 links. So let's try running that count again. And now count is 14. Perfect. So I've got a page. I've got a URL. I plugged it in. I downloaded the page. I extracted the links. I specified which links I want. I cleaned them up a little bit. And then I specified down to just the unique link. So I don't have 100 versions of links to the same page. I think that this is the page for Dune 2. Instead, I'm getting the things like, these people were also in Dune 1, or these people were in Fast and the Furious 8, or whatever. So I've got links, I've got a count, and then what I did here is I put a list out. So basically I said list of x equals 14, y equals links, and I get something like this where I can go into, let's call this L. So if I go to $X, it spits out 14. Now here, instead of x and y, I said let's call it count, and that's going to get this count, and then a thing called links, and it's going to get these links. Let's rename this. We'll call this link count, and then we'll call this rel links. And I'm going to roll this functionality in just a sec, but let's see what it looks like. So if I do get links on my base URL isn't going to work, so let's do strip URL on the URL. So it's going to take the Dune2 URL, it's going to strip it down to just the core part I want, it's going to pipe it into here, it's going to tack the rest of the URL back on, and then it's going to do all that stuff I just said, and now it spits out a list with 14 link counts and the actual links themselves. Now I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm also going to say title equals, how am I going to do this? I'm just going to strip this code out of here. So here I've got the page already. I don't need to do that again, but I can take all this, paste that into there, and take our page. So let's see if this works. Dune part 2, cool. So let's walk through it. So we got our page, whatever page we plug into this function. We do all this stuff, we get our count, we get our links, and then to get our title, we take the page, we look for the element title, which is going to be something with brackets, title, and it's going to have some stuff inside of it. The stuff inside of it is the text. So what it's going to look like is something like title Dune part 2 2024 IMDb close title. All right, so that's what's in the HTML. So we're saying give us this when we ask for the HTML title. Right? We're looking for element, not elements, so it's giving us just the first title, which in this case is the right one. Then we pull out the text, which is going to be all the stuff in between those tags, and then we remove this last part of it because I don't really care. All right, let's make this a little bit more readable, and we'll put that up at the top. So we'll say title equals title, link count equals count, rel links equals links, and I can get rid of this stuff, and let's go get links. What did I call it? Strip URL? Strip URL on our basic URL. Let's see what we get. So it's taking a little time, it's searching for stuff, it's getting the page, doing some processing, and it says here's the title for that, here are how many links there are, and here's what those links are. Now, at this point, what do we want to do? We want to put this into a CSV, a comma-separated value file, and we want to arrange that. So, what links are we going to go through? Well, let's take those links. So, let's say our starting links will be, I'm going to call it starting page. Let's call it Dune 2. Dune 2. We will get links from strip URL of our sample URL. Should have named that something like sample URL, whatever. So we run that, and we're going to get this stuff all into there. So what we want to do from here, how do we put this into a table? So I'm going to want a table where I take a title, I take the link count as a column, and then maybe I want to include those links as a nested column. That basically means take these 14 things and say there's 14 things here, there's some vector under this item called links. So if I do something like, we'll call it out, will be a data.frame. We'll use Tibble. We're already using the tidyverse. We'll do the tidyverse way. So we can say title equals Dune2 $title. Link count equals Dune2 $link count. Don't forget our commas. And then links will equal nest Dune2 $rel links. Let's see if this works. Doesn't want to nest that. Cool. All right. So here it made 14 duplicate rows, which is a little bit annoying. So what I can do with this is I can nest on links. And now what I've got is the title, the link count, and all of these items are just mashed together into a tibble within a tibble. Right? So within our table of stuff, we've got this, and then we've got all of these mashed into a single row. So we could unnest that and get access to that, or we could do whatever we want with it. All right, so we've got something. Now really what we want to do, I think, is go through those links. Do I want to do that now? I'm going to go ahead and stop here because I've got a meeting soon and we don't need to end this video with me juggling everything. But let me close this so I can upload so you've at least got something to start with. This code, oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and push this code to Git. So I'm going to stage this. I'm going to commit. I'm going to pass in a message, update demo code, commit, close, push, close, close. And now if you go to here, you'll see that demo.r was updated now, main.r was updated 29 minutes ago. You can dig through there and see some stuff that's going to be helpful for the Wikipedia version of this. Now, what I would do next, if I didn't have a meeting right now, is I would build some functionality to extract these links, to go through them if we haven't gone through them already, and then basically do the same thing to apply get links to all of those. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's say tried links will be pull, let's see, let's call it out $links. So those are the links that we're going to try next. I'm calling them tried links because we're about to try them. So then what we can do is let's try an lapply on tried links. And what did we call our function? Get links. And let's just call this out2. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed it does something. Now this is going to be going through 14 different pages, so it might take a little while for this to go through. But once you got this, you got a way to pull in a bunch of data, and at that point, it's a little bit of work to find a way to mash it together into a single table that you can use write_CSV on. To challenge 11 answer.csv. Right, you spit it out into your thing, put it up to GitHub. A little bit more tidying stuff here, but we can talk about that in the future. Hopefully this afternoon I get a chance to make sort of an addendum to this video and go through in a little bit more detail. But this is running slowly. We'll see if it comes into something when I go to my meeting. Otherwise, I will talk to you in the future, and let me know if you have any questions.